Germany is preparing military operations against Russia, and that's the top-line message from the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman after the bombshell leak of German commanders plotting with Ukrainian officials. Maria Zakharova slammed Berlin's intentions and highlighted that Germany was on the wrong side of history in World War II.
What
was presented to the world community shows the long-term and planned intention of the NATO country, Germany, to conduct military operations against the Russian Federation. It was literally described step by step how terrorist attacks against civilian infrastructure would be carried out. And the speakers were clearly aware of the fact that they were discussing the bombing of a civilian bridge. And they specifically spoke on this topic, saying that the bridge is of great political importance. That is, these issues should not hang in the air, and we proceed from the fact that Germany is obliged to give explanations. There should be an open conversation between Berlin, between German officials and their own population and, with the entire international community. Because what the whole world has heard, and this audio recording is presented in its original, raises an enormous number of questions for Germany in general, especially, forgive me, the very German officials who are there on this recording, who remind each other of the glorious, as they believe, past of the Luftwaffe. What is this glorious past of the Luftwaffe? If they talk about previous combat experience, it's the Second World War, and it turns out the experience of those years is still alive today, and they're still willing to apply it. But it's a different dimension altogether.
Meanwhile, the German ambassador has been summoned to the doorstep of the Russian Foreign Ministry. Here you can see Alexander Lambsdorff entering the building as he becomes surrounded by journalists, rather than their video. Now, this all comes after the phone conversation was intercepted by Russia and released by RT's editor-in-chief on Friday. Now, here are some details of what has revealed or was revealed in the audio file that was dropped in the past week. Now, in that conversation, senior German Air Force defense staff are talking about plans to help Kiev destroy the Crimean Bridge. The German Defense Ministry later confirmed that the tape was authentic. The entire recording is 38 minutes long. Well, here are some of the key excerpts.
I
came to the conclusion that there are two interesting targets, the bridge in the east and the ammunition depots above. The bridge in the east is hard to reach. It's a rather small target, but the Taurus can do it. The ammunition depots can also be hit.
We need to ensure that from the very beginning there is no mention that would make us part of the conflict. I am exaggerating a bit, but if we tell the minister now that we plan meetings and will drive by car from Poland so that no one notices, that's already participation and we won't do that.
Do you think it is possible to hope that Ukraine will be able to do everything on its own? After all, it is known that there are many people there in civilian clothes who speak with an American accent.
On Sunday, the German defense minister finally broke his silence over the leak, branding it a hybrid attack of disinformation by Russia. And that comes despite German officials confirming the recording's authenticity.
The incident is clearly more than just the interception and publication of an Air Force conversation. It is part of an information war that Putin is waging. There is no doubt at all. It is a hybrid attack of disinformation. It's about division.
Now, we heard from Italian journalist and war correspondent Andrea Lucidi, who says that the leaked audio confirmed that the West is operating in Ukraine against Russia.
I think that this audio confirmed us what we think, so that practically all services, all special services in Europe, all armies in Europe are working now for Ukraine against Russia, of course. After this audio, we have seen that Chancellor Scholz say that the furniture of the delivery of missiles Taurus is excluded by Germany because Germany don't want to be involved more at the military level in this conflict. But the main things, from my point of view, is that this is a confirmation about the work of the West in the military side against Russia. Olaf Scholz is not independent. he is dependent by the orders from Washington.
Now, recent polls show that more Germans favor an end to the conflict through a negotiated peace settlement versus seeking the fighting to drag on. Meanwhile, activists from the country's Free Saxony party have filed a lawsuit against the military staff caught red-handed in the leaked conversation. They accuses them of trying to carry out an act of aggression. As the revelation spread around the world, Berlin has been scrambling for a way to contain the fallout. RT contributor Rachel Marsden picks up the story from here.
So it's real, the German government tells the Western press. The half-hour-long tape of Germany's Air Force chief plotting with fellow military brass to deliver long-range Taurus missiles to Ukraine and blow up the Crimean Bridge in a way that gives Chancellor Olaf Scholz plausible deniability is indeed authentic. They got caught wanting to launch themselves down the slippery slope towards direct war with Russia, but ended up hitting a snag, ripping their pants, and now their butts are hanging out for the entire world to see. And the opposition Christian Democrats are not keen on tossing everyone involved a bathrobe for modesty.
The reports are strange in two respects. On the one hand, security-related conversations are obviously being overheard by the Russians. On the other hand, the Chancellor may justify his rejection of Taurus deliveries with a misrepresentation. The Federal Chancellor must explain himself to the Bundestag. In this situation, a committee of inquiry cannot be excluded.
So much for all that plausible deniability that was being built up in the Bundestag recently with all that theater, where Scholz's government voted down an opposition resolution to specifically give Ukraine Taurus missiles, only to then introduce their own motion instead that more vaguely specified long-range weapons without explicitly mentioning the T word. Defense Minister Boris Pistorius didn't even know what was in that motion, he said, because, well, he didn't write it. Maybe it includes Tauruses, or maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Not the German defense minister in any case. Not that anyone was stopping Scholz or Pistorius or their government from explicitly outlawing the transfer to Ukraine of German missiles of exceptional 500-kilometer range, capable of doing what its French or British counterparts couldn't, that is, strike deep inside Russian territory. Apparently, they just couldn't be bothered explicitly writing it in, and now German politicians are spelling out why perhaps they should have.
The attack plans of leading Bundeswehr officers with German cruise missiles Taurus on Russian territory are neither compatible with basic law nor with international law. This madness must be stopped immediately.
Bundeswehr generals are said to have made an assessment that the Crimean Bridge could be attacked with German Taurus missiles. This symbolic act would drag Germany deep into the war. No to Taurus delivery.
The leak effectively underscores an unexplained discrepancy between army brass and what they're saying on one hand, and what Scholz has been saying publicly about not wanting an escalation with Russia over Ukraine on the other. Now the Chancellor is demanding answers. It's just not very clear what exactly he's demanding answers to.
What is being reported there is a very serious matter, and that is why it is now being investigated very carefully, very intensively, and very quickly. That is also necessary.
What's he more upset about? The fact that his own military was plotting against what he claims are his explicit wishes not to deploy Tauruses, and even more explicitly contemplating a terrorist act against Russia? Or the fact that everyone now knows about it? The Bundestag Special Commissioner to the Military, Eva Hogel, from Scholz's very own Social Democrat Party, says that the leak itself is the real outrage, and that it's the guys in charge of keeping military communications secure that need comprehensive training, not the high-ranking German officers whose spitballing about blowing stuff up risks getting Germany into yet another world war.
The events of the last few days once again show how Vladimir Putin is trying to have a massively negative influence on our open society, especially in Germany, through disinformation, destabilization, and espionage.
Yeah, maybe after they finished looking into how Putin purportedly blew up his own gas supply to Germany, then they can tackle the big mystery of how Putin hijacked the minds of German military officers for a plot to blow up his own bridge.
Meanwhile, a wave of protests has spread across